There was a time, believe it or not, where licensed video games about superheroes sucked. And then, in the mid-2000s, some unknown British studio, founded by people from Argonaut Games, leading from them, was in contact with Eidos, and Eidos actually got the game rights to Batman, and pitched this studio called Rocksteady the idea to make a game about it. And it snowballed from there, because they actually got Paul Dini, one of the main people behind the animated series, to write for the game, and took a lot of inspiration from artists like Jim Lee and a couple of specific stories, most notably Arkham Asylum, A Seal's House on A Seal's Earth, which is kind of insane. So,
and then Square Enix gobbled it up.
well, Square
Yes.
Enix actually still allowed the project to happen. If anything, it's probably thanks to them that we have the more higher production value and different dubs. But this is 2008, if I recall correctly. Batman
2009.
2009, thank you. Batman Arkham Asylum, released for PS3, Xbox 360, and PC. More recently, there was the Return to Arkham collection, but let's not talk about that. Unfortunately, because it was still a game around this under time, the cutscenes are pre-rendered and in 30 FPS. So we start with, what else? Batman doing what he knows best, capturing the Joker and leading him to Arkham Asylum.
So yeah, this is the end of a Batman venture, right?
Right out of the gate, one thing that I have to say, I'm not super 1% fond of his Joker design. I'm still fine overall with it, but there's something about it that reminds me of stuff like the Brian Azzarello, designs which are just awful.
The most notable inspiration I get actually is Jack Nicholson, since he kind of has like the hair cow, the slightly balding forehead and whatnot, kind of like Jack Nicholson's Joker did.
Well, your ears do not deceive you. They did get Mark Hamill back for the role, which is not super uncommon. He was actually pretty okay with returning for the character for a lot of video games. So.
Tom Kane, rest his soul.
Created for this game is the character of Quincy Tarp, which is the director of Arkham Asylum. It's probably for the best.
Really? I don't mind walking. Not so tight, boys. You'll crease the suit.
Get that filthy degenerate out of here.
Warden, something's not right. I'm going.
And yeah, so they also got Kevin Conroy to voice, and also stellar music transitioning. They got one of the Greek God of War games composers for this.
Is Commissioner Gordon here?
So yeah, pay attention to everything in this intro because it is important just looking around. Unfortunately, this franchise commits this scene that a lot of games these days would do about having sequences with slow walking and following an NPC and looking around. I give it more of a pass because this was pretty much revolutionary at the time, but it's kind of similar to how Halo revolutionized shooters by dumping them down.
I give it a pass here because this game actually does it well in a way that feels immersive. And if I recall correctly, this was definitely a case where they were also using it to like hide loading screens. But let me put it like this. I think the best way to describe this game, well, for starters, mind you, because there's so much to say, but to start off, think of this like a more adult take on Batman the Animated Series. It brings back a lot of the voice actors from it. Rated
at the very least, PEGI 16 here in Europe.
Over here, it's rated T. Like, you got blood and violence, but it doesn't get too gory, at least in this game.
Oh, tell me, batarangs, bat claws.
Okay. You might have, if you played this game on the PS3, you might have noticed a lot of more smoky effects, which is a precursor because this game was, the PC version of this game was actually advertised a bit for the certified NVIDIA physics effects. Anyway, here's instead Aaron Cash, a character created for the 2003 series Arkham Asylum, Hell on Earth, if I recall correct. That doctor will become instead more relevant later, of course. This is basically just the game setting things up quietly, all the pieces on the board.
Let me make one thing clear. Back when this game first came out, this did not just become renowned as one of the greatest superhero games of all time. It became renowned as, like, the blueprint that a lot of games would follow. I won't go into all the details because, we'll naturally see them as they come, but let's just say, if you haven't played this game before and this is your first time experiencing it, if you notice something that you've seen in other games, chances are that was them getting the message from this game. And I was there from the start. I remember the hype period, and this was quintessential cool. Like, yeah, it does take
also,
some.
By the way, don't start a drinking game for every NPC voiced by Steel Blum. You'll be dead at the 10-minute mark.
I forget if this was when he was starting to just get every role he could just to get that Guinness Book of World
he was
Records
already
credit.
deep into that thanks to stuff like Quake 4.
Take my temperature? I'd be happy to.
No,
But
thank
yes,
you.
He's all yours.
believe it or not, that's not the most deranged thing he says in this game, Gibbs.
Yeah, I can't remember. Has Steve Blum ever voiced Batman?
I don't remember, possible.
No.
However, before moving on, we need to stop because there's another patient in transit, a big one. See, well, this takes inspiration from most of a couple of things like the animated series. A lot of times wants to take inspiration from the live-action movies for being safe, but it tries to implement a few things that people who've only seen live-action movies might have not seen, like Killer Croc.
Yes, definitely taking cues from one of his newer looks as opposed to his classic look. Reminder, when Killer Croc first debuted, he was really just a regular-sized man with a skin condition.
Yeah, about that.
A lot of growing.
By the way, if you're wondering why Aaron Cash is missing a hand, you have Croc to thank for that. Joker even makes the TikTok reference and everything.
It's a deliberate reference to what happened in Arkham Asylum and on Earth. That series focuses on two major characters, Aaron Cash and a new villain created for it called the Great White Shark. Also, in case you're wondering, Croc is voiced by Steve Blum. A bit too high-pitched for my liking. My country's dub gives him a deeper voice and I prefer
That
that.
reminds me.
Did they change the pitch?
No idea.
Yes. I think what they were going for was to make him sound a lot more warped in a sense, But yeah, no, I really do love this intro, though. Like, yeah, it's a slow walk one, but it's a very good and immersive one. And it will pretty much start the tradition for a lot of Arkham games.
Batman already has figured out that something is not right. Because the Joker got himself caught very easily and conveniently. There was a arson at Blackgate prison.
Hundreds of my crew to be moved here.
I thought I told you to stay quiet.
Oh, Frankie, you really should learn to keep that fat mouth of yours shut. It'll get you into trouble.
Tell me something.
And in case
You've
you're
never
wondering
let me
about
catch
Mark
you
Hamill's
this easily.
performance, he deliberately
you
mentioned
really
that he wanted to give a more sinister sound to the character, even compared to the animated series.
I'll be honest.
I mean, for that series, it was a series still mainly aimed at families, for lack of a better
Also,
term.
this was still the time where only Bob Kane was credited for creating Batman, so I took deliberately to correct that.
Thank you.
What's he doing? Stay where you are. Get a flashlight. Get a light on him.
I do like how Batman just on sight knows, make sure he can't move.
I mean, he is Batman. It's just that.
I will say, for those who have a certain mode of this game, you will see just how Joker can be when he's free.
are now at level red alpha.
So, you're back. You killed 3 of my crew when you busted out of here.
Only 3? I'll be sure to try harder next time. What say we aim for 100?
Gonna get a high score.
I will say this.
Also, to mention,
hold
they
on.
got Tom Kane also to voice Jim Gordon, and I think that was a bit of a mistake.
Long night,
His
Jim.
voice does not really
Joker
fit this
invades
design
City
for
Hall
Jim.
and holds the mayor hostage, leaving it to me to
They
juggle
needed to say he
He's
will be
fine.
recasted for the future for the other games.
Yeah, it's been a
Better Cockroach, I think Jim Gordon gets like a different voice actor for each of the Arkham games. To the point
I
where
think in
by
the Arkham Knight they got one of the guys off Breaking Bad to voice him.
yes, the one who plays Mike.
And from what I heard, he's not very good.
We'll get there.
He's talking about you, Bats. Don't be a stranger. You're always welcome.
In my country's dub, they got the guy who voiced Master Roshi in Dragon Ball, so it kind of fits on a character design.
He surrendered
Interesting.
almost without a fight. I don't like it.
At least he's back where
It's gonna be
It could be
fine.
that. Well, Batman, it could be like the Lego Batman movie where he's just messing with you and trying to make you paranoid. Or not.
Joker's loose. Alert the warden.
Batman, you literally have some explosives that we'll see later. You could have broken through that glass quicker.
Well, he doesn't have yet the explosive jet, in case you're wondering. However, it's not wouldn't last that much because Joker somehow managed to get Harley Quinn in position and, you know, having access all the control terminals.
And yes, your ears do not deceive you. That is Arlene Sorkin playing Harley Quinn in this game.
I think the final reprise of the character.
Yeah, I think for the next game they recast her as Tara Strong.
So, what
Who's
kind of
pretty
game
much
do we
the
have on
go-to
our hand?
VA for
A
Harley
beat 'em
now.
up with a rhythm component to it. You really need to just get into the flow. Square for basic attack, a triangle for countering, and you need to, you know, understand better the flow, build up your combos, and have Batman leap onto the screen. It's practically magic. All of beat 'em ups will copy the specific, you know, gameplay control later down the line with various degrees of success.
Let me put it like this. The magic of the Arkham series is that from an outsider, it looks like you're pulling off like a fighting game moves worth of these complicated texts and combos. In reality, it's actually flowing relatively simple. That being said, the Arkham series is an easy game to start off with, but it's a very rewarding game to master.
Yes.
Yeah, at first it starts off with, you know, simple button mashes and whatnot, but trust me, at some point, it becomes a challenge to see just how much you can combo certain foes, and it gets even more complicated with all the different maneuvers, gadgets, and techs you throw in.
Let him know what's happened. I'll be back.
Don't make promises you can't keep, Bats. I'm in control of the asylum. You're not going anywhere I don't want you to.
Spoiled sport.
If you think
You're not authorized, Samus.
I'm getting bored of watching you. Why don't you just come find me?
Okay.
Yes, this game, in no short usage, gets a lot of mileage from Mark Hamill hamming it up as Joker.
Believe it or not, apparently it was supposed to be even more. But hold on one second. One thing that I kind of miss from the other games is these more stylized, actual comic book looking character bios, which actually, you know, properly resemble source material. Later games will actually instead have the 3D models pasted on instead of a more digital look, and I think some of the charm is lost in that.
I presume we're not going to be looking at these profiles all in depth because
No.
they do get pretty
There
bulky.
is a lot of text, especially in later games where they start to have even small stories. I will basically recap what is essential later. What I find neat is the character bio, if you notice the showcase the character's first appearance, which is something that if you play the Kingdom Hearts game you already are kind of accustomed to. But anyway, let me pull something that I really shouldn't immediately right now, because this is something that you learn technically later, but since I already know about removing covers, let's do this to get something that is the bane of existence for a lot of people, the Riddler trophies. Yes, one of Batman's enemies has gathered a lot of these little thingies onto the place, and it challenges you to find all of them. Yeah,
and the dealio is, yes, there is indeed story content hidden behind this. Let me put it like this. I do like playing the Arkham series, but I'll admit, sometimes they can be a bit of a pain for me to complete. I feel like if you have memorized stuff relatively good, like, say, the Batman Arkham Videos YouTube channel seems to be a whiz at doing, you can make a pretty good, clear playthrough that has the story flow pretty well. If you are not familiar with stuff, especially the Riddler trophies, expect to do stuff a lot out of sequence, and oh lord help you on the backtracking. At least in this game, mind you. Arkham City is more open worldish, so backtracking doesn't feel as bad there.
Arkham Knight just unloads his pants.
Oh lord, Arkham Knight.
But what about Arkham Origins?
The collectibles in there are actually more technically easy to find. It still requires a lot of, you know, gadget usage out of your, you know, experience. But compared to Arkham City and Asylum, it is fairly more doable, especially because it's supposed to be a prequel, so a more inexperienced Edward Nigma.
So yes, this is the main premise, an entire Batman story that takes place in Arkham Asylum, which, you know, kind of reminiscent of the trial episode from Batman the Animated Series, but this is pretty much the story. You know where most of Batman's crooks and criminals go on their off time? Yep, they're all here and you gotta deal with them.
Also, yes, if your ears did not deceive you, that was actually the stock sound effect from that was used for the Crystal Gathering in the Crash games.
I love that.
Well, Crash 1 uses a lot of stock sound effects.
But just to mention, it's mentioned in development that Paul Dini had written a lot more material, including a lot more lines for the Joker, and Rocksteady, the development team, actually had to raid him down because they wouldn't not be able to fit everything into the game. At one point they wanted to have Mr. Freeze, but they had realized that he had really no motivation to be here, because if you know, Freeze is kind of like more of a complex villain than just your average crook that is, you know, also psychopathic. So they wanted to save that for another occasion, which we'll see in the sequels. But instead, again, they had written also the story to be confined in Arkham Asylum to take advantage of the limitation, because they wanted Batman to be just in a specific location instead of giving an excuse to why you cannot go through Gotham.
A violent criminal's escaped and the guy's nervous. Who knew?
Mind you, this will be taken to stupid extremes in the other games to explain why you're inside a circumscribed area, but there is an attempt. I don't remember who we got to have to voice Barbara Gordon, which started appearing in the Silver Age.
Kimberly Brooks. Oh, if I recall correctly, she had played Batgirl as well. Let me check.
Out of the original animated series, the only major, you know, voice actors that return are, you know, Mark Hamill, Kevin Conroy, and Arlene Sorkin. Everyone else has voiced a character in the Batman series to an extent, but not necessarily the 90s series.
You can't. He'll kill Mike if he sees anyone trying to get close.
Also, speaking of other, you know, villains, Victor Zsasz, this guy is lame as shit. So, and you can tell that the devs had no idea what to do with him.
They do better with him in City, I'll say, but yeah.
He doesn't even have a gimmick, like a specific gimmick. He just loves to put a mark in, you know, cut a mark on his body, on the flesh of his body, every time he kills someone. The end.
Well, there's his gimmick. Okay, like, you can tell Victor Zsasz was from that era where people were going, you know what, we need to make Batman a little bit more down-to-earth with some of his rogues gallery, which...
Yeah,
This is disgraceful. How did a patient like Victor get free?
We'll worry about that later, Doctor.
He wants to kill the god.
Also, of course, you know, a psychiatric doctor in Asylum has a German accent. Never heard that before.
That said, she's actually one of the decent ones, as
I
we'll
forgot that this
come
was
to
from
find
the
out.
90s, 1992. Still the dark age of comics that is reflective, kind of that.
I feel like there are some versions of Victor Sass that can be interesting, but I'll admit, I'm kind of whatever on the characters for the most part.
I'll take guys like Prometheus or Maximus every day compared to him. So this is that he chose another gimmick, stealth. Yes, it's not just a beat 'em up, but also a proper stealth game, because, you know, you're the fucking Batman. Conveniently, all over the place there are these gargoyles that are, you know, scattered throughout, that you can use as advantage points, so they can sneakily drop behind enemies to take them down stealthily. So let's do that. Or you can just, you know, kick them in case.
Zaz is down, but not for long. Got to get close.
Someone put this animal back in his cell.
Can you hear me? Is this thing on? Oh, hiya, B-Man. Harley Quinn.
To mention, Harley Quinn gets a new outfit for this, and I'm very mad about it. Not necessarily for the skimpiness, but for the color distribution. Too much white.
I get the feeling her new outfit was also to show, yeah, this ain't your granddaddy's Batman the Animated Series. This is Batman the Animated Series, but jacked up to a new level.
In case you ain't figured it out, today is the Joker's big homecoming, and you're the guest.
I do like how for all the returning voice actors, it sounds like they never left. Anyway, Kimberly Brooks technically started off as, well, Batwoman actually, from Batman, Mystery of the Batwoman.
And I was going to say, Batman games up to this point were pretty up and down in quality, from what I understand. With the Tim Burton movie games being somewhat decent, and the Joel Schumacher games not.
Let's see, one tried to be Mortal Kombat, and Batman and Robin was apparently a game as bad as the movie.
And before this game, we had stuff like Lego Batman, the video game, which came out the year before this one.
That was good.
And if you wanted a more gritty Batman title, there was Batman Dark Tomorrow, which came out 6 years before this one.
Dark Lord Shadow reviewed that one, and it's terrible to control, but it's an interesting premise.
And there was also Batman Vengeance, which was actually a 3D Batman directly based off of the Batman the Animated Series.
Also, Rise of Sin Tzu, but that was basically an adaptation of Nightfall with a, you know, serial number filed off.
But anyway, to cap things off with Kimberly Brooks, yeah, she played Oracle in this game. She also plays two other characters from the series, Sarah Cassidy and Ann Bishop. She will later go on to voice Batgirl for Lego Batman Free and Injustice Gods Among Us, so yeah, good for her. You may remember her also as one of the Hex Girls from Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost.
And we will get at least another one of them starting from the next game, so don't worry about that. Anyway, tune in for the next part where we continue our chase against the Joker. See ya.
Ta-da.